why my name is Michael, and the last few months of my life have been a real hell. It all started when my wife Emma and I lost our home due to financial difficulties. I worked as a sales manager and Emma was a primary school teacher, but our income was barely enough to pay the bills and mortgage. When it became clear that we could no longer afford to live in our house, Emma suggested temporarily moving in with her mother Linda until we got back on our feet. I wasn't thrilled about the idea as I never got along with Linda, but we had no choice. Linda's house was located in a quiet suburb, about an hour's drive from our previous residence. It was a typical American house with a white picket fence and a neatly trimmed lawn. Linda greeted us rather coldly, but agreed to take us in for an indefinite period. For the first few weeks, Emma and I were settling into our new place and looking for ways to improve our financial situation. I tried to find part-time work in my spare time, and Emma gave private lessons. We hardly saw each other or Linda, who spent most of her time in her room. One evening, when Emma went to another lesson, Linda unexpectedly invited me to her room. I was surprised but followed her, thinking she wanted to discuss some household issues. However, the conversation took a completely different turn. "Michael, I know that you and Emma are going through a tough time right now," Linda began, looking at me intently. "But I'm not only concerned about your financial situation. I accidentally found out that you have a problem with gambling." I felt the blood drain from my face. How could she have known about my addiction to playing at the casino? I had carefully hidden it from Emma, fearing that she would leave me if she found out the truth. "I don't know what you're talking about," I mumbled, looking away. "Don't pretend, Michael. I've seen statements from your bank account and know that you regularly lose large sums of money. If Emma finds out about this, she will be devastated." I swallowed the lump in my throat and looked at Linda. There was no judgment in her eyes, only cold calculation. "What do you want?" I asked, feeling cornered. "I want you to do what I say," Linda replied, smiling. "Otherwise, your wife will find out about your dirty little secret." From that day on, my life turned into a nightmare. Linda began to regularly summon me to her room and demand that I carry out various errands. At first, they were small household tasks like going to the store or fixing a leaky faucet. But gradually, her demands became increasingly strange and unacceptable. One day, she made me give her a foot massage and then a full-body massage. I felt humiliated and scared but couldn't refuse, fearing that she would tell Emma about my gambling addiction. Gradually, our meetings became more frequent and intimate. Linda openly flirted with me, made suggestive comments, and touched me at every opportunity. I hated myself for the way my body responded to her touch, but I couldn't help it. A strange, painful attraction developed between us that I couldn't explain. One evening, when Emma went to a teacher's conference, Linda came to my room wearing only a robe. She sat next to me on the bed and started kissing my neck. I tried to push her away, but she just laughed and started undressing me. That night, we had sex, rough, desperate, almost animalistic. I felt both disgusted with myself and a wild, unbridled desire. Linda took everything she wanted from me, and I couldn't refuse her, afraid of losing Emma and our marriage. From then on, my relationship with Linda became even more tangled and painful. We continued to meet secretly, making love in her bedroom while Emma was at work. I felt like I was being pulled into a dark whirlpool with no way out. I tried to end our meetings, telling Linda that I couldn't live like this anymore. But she just laughed in my face and reminded me of my gambling debts. I was trapped, forced to fulfill my mother-in-law's every whim and cheat on the wife I still loved. Emma began to notice that something was wrong with me. I became nervous, distracted, avoided her touch, and flinched at every sound. She tried to talk to me, to find out what was bothering me, but I just remained silent and avoided the conversation. Our home turned into a battlefield filled with heavy silence and unspoken grievances. Emma and I almost stopped communicating, and Linda watched us with a smug smile, as if enjoying our suffering. I felt like I was going crazy. I wanted to scream, to run away, just to escape from this hell. But I continued to play my role, afraid of losing the last remnants of my life. The denouement came suddenly and cruelly. One evening when I was at work, Emma came home earlier than usual and caught Linda and me in bed. I will never forget the look on her face. Shock, pain, disgust, and endless disappointment. Emma screamed, throwing whatever was at hand at us. Linda just laughed and started insulting her daughter, accusing her of not being good enough for her husband. I tried to calm Emma down, to explain to her that it was all one big misunderstanding, but she didn't want to listen. Eventually, Emma ran out of the house, crying and cursing us both. I ran after her, begging her to forgive me and give me another chance. But she just shook her head and said she was filing for divorce. I watched her walk away, feeling my life falling apart. The next few weeks passed in a haze. Emma filed for divorce and moved in with her friend. I continued to live in Linda's house, but we no longer spoke or touched each other. She had achieved her goal, destroying my marriage and my life. A month later, I packed my things and left that damned house. I rented a small apartment on the outskirts of town and immersed myself in work, trying to forget about my past. Sometimes I think about Emma and our happy days together, but then my thoughts return to Linda and our dirty secret. I know that I am to blame for what happened. I should have told Emma the truth about my gambling addiction and asked for her help. But instead, I allowed Linda to manipulate me and destroy everything that was dear to me. Now I live alone, trying to atone for my sins and start a new life. But memories of the past haunt me, giving me no peace. And I know that I will never be able to fully rid myself of the guilt and shame for what I have done. That's the story that happened to me, a story of weakness, betrayal, and the destructive power of secrets. I hope that someday I can atone for my sins and regain the respect of those around me. But for now, I'm just trying to survive and not go crazy from the burden of the past.